Hello, welcome to this talk on the three-way tonal system of Sylheti. Sylheti is an Indo-Aryan language spoken in the Sylhet division of Bangladesh and also a couple of districts in India inside the state of Assam. Sylhet used to be a district in pre-independent Assam, that is before 1947, and at the time of partition, a couple of districts remained within the state of uh, Assam in India, and a couple of other districts were part of then East Pakistan and now Bangladesh. So, coming to Sylheti, I will share the screen with you. Now, we can see that Sylheti has an ISO number. It is mainly spoken in the Surma and Kushiara valleys of Sylhet division, also Habiganj, etc. And the Barak Valley region of Assam. It has a large diaspora in the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Middle East. So this is the map of pre-independent Greater Sylhet district. It was a district of the state of Assam. And Sylheti is linguistically debatable as a dialect of Bangla or Bengali, and has been noted as early as Grierson in 1928, Chatterjee in 1939, later Gordon 2005. But no official recognition of it as a language in any country where it is spoken, either Bangladesh or India. Sylheti is noted for its continuous use of a script called the Eastern Nagari script, and even though it was abandoned, it has seen a new lease of life, and it has been revived for educational purposes by the diaspora community in the UK mainly. The advantage of using the Eastern Nagari script as against the Bengali script is that the Eastern Nagari script matches the phonology of spoken Sylheti quite closely. Coming now to the aspect of tones in Sylheti, it is important to note that Indo-Aryan languages are known for four-way stop contrast, which is distinctive along the lines of spread glottis voicing, and also a place of articulation like dental and retroflex. So Sylheti, which is supposed to be a dialect of Bengali, does not have the four-way contrast, but whereas Bengali still maintains a four-way laryngeal stop contrast in onset positions. Sylheti, on the other hand, has retained only a two-way contrast, that is the voicing contrast. GOP 2016 showed phonemic reconstruction and lack of aspiration in Sylheti stops. Mahanta and GOP also showed delineation of stops and fricatives in Sylheti. GOP and Mahanta 2014, GOP 2016 showed a merger of plus spread glottis and minus spread glottis, which means this feature of spread glottis aspiration is completely lost in the language. Therefore, it has been argued in previous work that this phonemic reconstruction, loss of spread glottis aspiration, also to a certain extent clinician, has led to tonogenesis in Sylheti. And also Go postulates that historically plus voice plus spread glottis onsets led to a lexical high tone. In this diagram, which is from GOP 2016, you can see the red line there, which shows the loss of plus spread glottis in a voice stop, which has led to the rise of a high tone there, as against this blue line where nothing has been lost, but it contrasts for tone being the one which carries the low tone. Cope also postulated the possibility of a third tone in Sylheti. I think we have come to the end of my part of the presentation. The following part will be carried out by Priti Raychoudhury.
Hello, I'm Priti Raychoudhury, and I will talk on our work on the disyllabic patterns of Sylheti and explain how the different historical features of different onset positions led into the three-way tonal system in Sylheti. As the previous study was exclusively on the tonogenesis triggered by voiced obstruents, our present work will investigate only into the tonogenesis triggered by voiceless obstruents in Sylheti. We found similar tone contrast triggered by the merger of voiced aspirated and unaspirated obstruents as postulated by Gope in the previous study. That is, the voiced aspirated obstruent onsets led to a high tone and voiced unaspirated obstruents led to a low tone. So we have skipped the voiced obstruents in this work. So, in our revised hypothesis for Sylheti tonogenesis, the tonal patterns postulated by voiced onsets in the previous study remains the same, but when it comes to voiceless onsets, the onset of the leftmost syllable led to a low tone when it was historically an aspirated voiceless obstruent. This is opposite of the voice series pattern. And when it was a voiceless, unaspirated obstruent on the onset of the leftmost syllable, it led to a midtone. Now, a voiceless aspirated stop also led to a high tone when it was on the syllable, a second syllable onset. This pattern is based completely on different conditions, different onset positions, which we will discuss in our upcoming slides. So our dataset was prepared with the help of 7 native speakers of Sylheti residing in the Barak Valley region of Assam state of India. And the speakers belong to two age groups. One was from 50 to 55, where there was one male and one female speaker, and one age group was from 20 to 26, where there was one male and four female speakers. So the material was displayed on a screen with the meaning written, and it was in a word order of IX said, as Sylheti is a SOV word order language, and the onset to the offset of the vowel, the rhyme was measured, and we measured it at 11 consecutive points. Each data point was then transformed to Z-score metric by the Z-score metric system, and then we found that the average pitch contours, when we plotted average pitch contours, we found that it was highly contrastive, and the onsets which were historically aspirated, voiceless aspirated, led to a low tone, and which were not aspirated led to a contrastive midtone. We found only pitch contrast. Duration was not at all significant, so we are not including that. As we can see the results, there is a lot of sound changes. For in figure 3, the voiceless velar stop changes to voiceless velar fricative, and in figure 4, the voiceless alveolar affricate changes to voiceless alveolar fricative. So the fricativization or lenation of occlusion or stops or obstruents did not lead to tonogenesis in Sylheti, because there are stops like the alveolar stopta, which have not undergone any lenation. So the only factor which triggered tonogenesis is the loss of aspiration, or the merger of aspirated and unaspirated obstruents have resulted in tonogenesis in Sylheti. In figure 3, the loss of aspiration for the word for puffed rice resulted in a low tone, and the word for fish resulted in a contrastive mid-tone. When we further strengthened our results with LMER mixed effect models, we found that the tone was very contrastive in terms of pitch. We did not find any significant results, any significant contrast in terms of duration, which was the only factor which affected tone, and it lowered tone by 59.6 hertz. The intercept is to 27.81 hertz, which represents the mid-tone, and it differs from the low tone by about 59.64 hertz. Pitch affects tone by a standard error of about 2.37. So now we come to disyllables. It shows that all the onsets of the leftmost syllables changed to a bilabial fricative, and all the onsets of the second syllables changed from retroflex to alveolar stops. And the contrast was of the aspiration, and we can see then that the aspiration was in different onset positions. For the high tone, the aspiration was on the onset of the second syllable, and for the low tone, the aspiration was on the onset of the first syllable, and for mid tone there was no aspiration at all for any of the onsets. So let me play it for you. That will make it more clear. Here, the word in the medial position is a target word, and it is as recorded in the carrier sentence, IX said. So let me play it again. This is the high tone. This is the mid tone. And this is the low tone. Again, the red one is the high tone. The green pitch contour shows the mid tone. And the blue pitch contours show the low tone. Now we come to the fixed effect coefficient table for disyllabic tone contrast for the three tones. We can see the difference between the three tones in terms of mean F0 has a very significant x square value and the t value, and hence there is a very significant p value in the fixed effects table. The intercept was about 274.345 Hz, which represents the high tone and was seen to differ from the low tone by around 75 Hz, and the mid tone difference with the high tone lowered for this model, and it was around 25 Hz. In terms of maximum F0, the x square value is high, and the low tone is lower than the high tone by around 83 Hz. The mid tone was lower by around 36 Hz. Similarly, in terms of minimum F0, the high tone was higher than the low tone by around 62.4 Hz and about 13 Hz than the mid tone. We see that we have a very significant x square value and p value for all the three F0 contrasts for the three tones. We found that pitch was highly contrastive for all the tones. Pitch was not at all significant across syllables. The fixed effect model showed no difference in tone in terms of syllables. So the distinction for the tones across syllables remained the same. Pitch difference across syllables was only about of 3 Hz. We can see in the following diagrams that the difference between the three tones in terms of mean pitch is same. The contrast between the tones remain the same across syllables, and both syllables are in contrast in terms of tones. Difference is consistent across all the 7 speakers. There is a clear tonal contrast between the high, mid, and low tones. So to look at the conditions which resulted in a three-way tonal contrast, we can see that whenever there was a leftmost voiceless aspirated onset historically, it led to a low tone provided that there was no following syllable, or if there was a following syllable, then the onset of the second syllable should be voiceless unaspirated obstruent historically. Only in these conditions a low tone was emerged. Now the mid tone emerged only when there was a merger of aspiration contrast in the onset of the second syllable that resulted in a high and a mid tone. So for mid tone, when there was historically a voiceless unaspirated obstruent on the onset of the leftmost syllable, and there was no following syllable, or there was a following syllable where the onset of the second syllable was a voiceless unaspirated stop as well, that resulted in a mid tone. For high tone, the onset of the first syllable has to be a voiceless, unaspirated obstruent historically, and the onset of the second syllable should have been historically a voiceless, aspirated stop. So that would lead to a high tone. We can see that the only difference between the mid tone and high tone is the onset of the second syllable. The first syllable for both the tones were same, that is voiceless, unaspirated obstruent. So there is a merger of aspiration contrast in between the onsets of the first syllable of the high and mid tones, due to which the high tone rises above the mid tone to maintain the lexical contrast. So we have seen that the tone of the right syllable always aligns to the tone of the left syllable. Sylheti is a left alignment language. The neighboring Tibeto-Burman languages, which are tonal languages, also follow, most of them follow a left alignment pattern. Languages like Boro, as shown in Das and Mahanta, follow a left alignment tone pattern for tones, as thus a word is the tone bearing unit in Sylheti. So we have seen that different tonal patterns were triggered by voice and voiceless series of obstruents when there is a loss of aspiration contrast for both series. One reason for this could be the four-way laryngeal system which existed in this language, and we have seen that it existed because of the reconstruction that happened in the language in this study and the previous study on the tonogenesis of Sylheti. So this complicated system could have resulted in a complicated tonal pattern. We have seen that it's very difficult to describe the voiced aspirates of the Indo-Aryan languages. Some have described to it as a murmur or a phonation, or Lisker and Abramson say that they have a lot of multiplicity of acoustic cues, and also Datta shows the Indo-Aryan voiceless aspirated stops have a tendency to lower the frequency of the following vowel. The frequency of the vowels following a voiceless unaspirated stop is higher than the frequency of the vowel following having the voiceless aspirated stop. So we have reasons to argue and believe that this could be the reason of tonogenesis. A future study of the combination of both the tonogenesis triggered by voice and voiceless obstruent series could give us an illustrated and wider picture of the language. So this is the end of the presentation. Thank you.